Hi everyone, Reverend Sarah Grady from St. Paul's United Church in Paris. I hope you're having a great day, a great week. The weather is still quite beautiful out there. Yesterday, I actually had the opportunity to go over to Five Oaks Education and Retreat Center here in Paris and do some long-range planning, particularly Advent, with the United Ministers group that have been working together virtually over the last 18 months. And it was stunning there. So I highly, highly recommend if you need a chance to get outdoors, just sit in a sacred space if walking isn't your thing, or to walk a trail or a labyrinth, get over to Five Oaks and take that time. It's just amazing over there right now. And I just have a couple of thank yous that I want to make. The first is for all of our volunteers of time and talent who put their efforts into our Christmas extravaganza this past Saturday. We had 430 some odd people come through our space as safely as possible. We had the vaccine passports, the sanitizing, the masking happening, and there was just this air of joy about it. People have really been missing these things that we used to do pre-pandemic. So it was nice to have a feeling of returning to something that had been really missing the last little while. So thank you so much for all of those. And thank you to all of you who came out. It was just wonderful to see your eyes behind the mask and just to be together and to have some of that pre-pandemic joy brought back into this space. My other big thank you this week is to our music team on Sunday. I was so moved by our music director, Dr. Erica Ryman, and the choir and their offering for this past Sunday, Jean Kamala doing her beautiful solo. It was just so amazing, and I'm so grateful for it. Music always just really adds something to me, to a service of worship. So thank you so much to those two groups. Huge, huge thanks this week. Of course, on Sunday, we did our act of remembrance during the service because this coming Thursday is Remembrance Day, the 11th hour, the 11th month, the 11th day. We have been doing this for, it's 103 years since World War I and 76 years, I think we determined, since World War II ended. And the act of remembrance is still just as important. I know lots of newer generations of young people are having a harder time understanding why we still do this act of remembrance, but it is so important to take the time to remember. And why I said this in my sermon on Sunday is the act of remembrance helps us to know better so that we do better. It's actually part of a quote I used from the poet Maya Angelou, who said, do the best you can until you know better. And then when you know better, do better. And I think that can be applicable to acts of remembrance because they help us to continue to work towards peace and justice, which is the ultimate goal. When we turn to acts of remembering on Remembrance Day, it's often about the atrocities of people who went to war and never came home, who were injured, either physically or emotionally. Many people, if not all of them, who came home changed, unable to connect with family or friends, and that includes the Vietnam War, people who have served in Desert Storm, people who have been over in Army reserves in Afghanistan recently, or dealing with Israel-Palestine conflict. Syria, if you speak to a newly emigrated person from Syria, you'll hear that war is very much still a reality in our world today and is happening there. And I'm sure you've seen some news reels that bring that reality home. So the act of remembrance is indeed important. I'm wondering, what are other acts of remembrance that you do aside from the poppy? I've got my poppy on here, but I have other acts of remembrance that help me to know better and do better. I have behind me here this red scarf and the little piece of paper on it. It's actually from our sanctuary. I brought it in today, and we have it placed in our sanctuary, and it says, "We honor and remember the unknown number of murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls." And that's for us to remember. We still have work to do. The work is not done. We know better. Now we need to continue to do better in the fight to bring some peace and justice for those women and girls and their families. So that's part of an act of remembrance. If you wear a cross, that's an act of remembrance of your faith. When we take part in communion, that's an act of remembrance. Those are the very words of Jesus. Take, eat, and drink. Do these things in remembrance of me. So I wonder for you, are there some acts of remembrance that you specifically take part in? Maybe you go and visit a family member, a loved one at a grave, and do some acts of remembrance there. Maybe you take time to gather. You know, my family every year on January the 29th, we get together to remember my sister Kelly. So that's one of my family's traditions. I wonder what they might be for you. I'd love to hear from you about them and experiences that you may have had around Remembrance Day, something that's significant, meaningful to you. You know how to reach me. You can email me, you can send me a text, give me a call. And of course, wherever you are this day, I hope you're safe, I hope you're well, and that I get to see you soon. We'll talk to you later, friends.